So this is my piece on chapter 5. The world wants me to fear people. When people are big and God is small by Edward T. Welch. Great chapter. This really stood out to me. It says we live in a culture of victimization. It is always the other person's fault. You are responsible for my actions. We even blame other people for our culture of victimization. The lawyers did it. They victimized us into the culture of victimization. And so I know growing up, especially early college, I was into black liberation theology. And I mean, it was always the man's fault. Even though I may not necessarily say the man, I did say it was the white man's fault. It was the government's fault. It was the system's fault. Even in Christianity, it's the Illuminati's fault. I mean, just everything that's happening in this world, rather than looking at it for what it is, which is sin, I'm looking at it, this is the sin in my life, or my lack of motivation, or my lack of discipline, or my lack of commitment, or my lack of consistency. It was always somebody else's fault. And we definitely do live in a world where it's always somebody else's fault. And so this world is setting up a mindset of, fear people. It may not say it, but it's always somebody else is always responsible for the ills and the wrong that is going on in your life. The quiet revolution has been committed to exalting ourselves and rendering God as less than holy and sovereign. We get into this mindset that even it becomes a mantra. We say that God is holy. We say that God is sovereign. He's omnipresent. He's omniscient. He's all sufficient. He's El Shaddai. He's El Elyon. I mean, we say all those things, but our actions say that, God, you're not really sovereign. We start worrying about situation. Anxiety creeps in, depression creeps in, suicidal thoughts and tendencies creep in, because what the real issue is that there's an issue in us believing God's sovereignty in our life. And so we render ourselves exalted over God, that I need to control this. That's where some once again fall into legalism or overcommitment or peer pressure or whatever it is, being that yes man all the time. The supreme interest has become self, not God, not you, but me. If our culture is misguided in its understanding of God, then it will be misguided in its understanding of people who are made in His image. So if we're always looking at someone else as the problem, then we'll begin to look at that person as a problem rather than the image bearer of God. And since we are looking at that person as a problem, we will then have zero compassion towards that person, because if that person is the reason for my problem, he's not an image bearer of God. And what this book is saying, that even if you are a mass serial killer murderer, you're still an image bearer of God. And so even though the world wants you to fear people, we must fight against the world system, the world standard. I love what he says towards the end. When feelings become more important than faith, people will become more important and God will become less important. We can't have a faith living. It's not faith if it's being led by emotion, because then emotion becomes my God, and the all true and living God becomes secondary in my life. And so awesome chapter. It is an ideal time for us to develop clear, meaningful biblical teaching on who we are and how we can avoid being controlled by the things we feel and the things that we need. Excellent way to close the chapter. So this is my take on chapter 5. The world wants me to fear people. When people are big and God is small, by Edward T. Welch.